Hello friends, this video is a quick demo of the kind of automation that is possible through SriMux. SriMux is a programmer-oriented S-expression-based automation tool. Its flexible design enables you to automate anything, including writing programs. It can even play the piano when things get too stressful. SriMux is insanely flexible because it stands on the shoulders of very powerful and simple tools. Tmux, Vim, Clojure, Lean, and a Vim plugin called Vim Fireplace. The code itself is embarrassingly small and light. The project relies on a very few common sense conventions and makes heavy use of the scriptability of Tmux. In this screencast, we will walk through the installation steps and a quick demo of how this project wires all these things together. So let's get started by looking at the dependencies. So I use SriMux across my MacBook Air and iMac desktop for daily use. But for the purposes of this video, I'm going to be using Debian Ubuntu Linux for installation instructions. Any other OS dependency is standard and should be available in the package of your distro. So there is nothing here. First, let's get SriMux and clone it into a local directory. HTTPS. So the repo is in Bitbucket. This may take a while. Once this repo is cloned, we can cd into the folder and quickly check its contents. Okay. Notice the tmux conf sample. Now tmux by default has some configuration, but this particular configuration has some nice bindings that will be helpful to experienced screen and Vim users. So the way tmux works is when you are within the tmux session and you send the prefix key, which is configurable, it alerts tmux and it will take the next set of keystrokes as a command to do something. Like C would be a command to create another window, or just 3 would be a command to switch to window 3, and so on. So by default, the prefix is Control B, as I just said, which, because I'm an old screen user, I've changed to Control A. And the configuration also has a lot of sensible defaults that can get you painlessly started if you're already a experienced Vim user. So this looks good. Let's copy it and make it the default tmux conf because it really makes life easier if you already have Vim experience or screen experience. So this is the place where you copy the conf. So once this is out of the way, the next step would be to make sure that you have a certain variable that you set or blank out, because tmux tool does not like nesting. So we'll have to edit one particular variable and save it in the bash profile. So we'll say export tmux equal to blank and save it. This is because in this project we will be using nesting, and by default tmux thinks that nesting is always an error, so we need to silence certain error messages by blanking out this variable. So once this is out of the way, you can actually get tmux and run the mother session called srimux that makes everything possible in this project. So let's get the app get updated. Great. Next is to install tmux. That's great. It's already installed. That's okay. But if not installed it, that's the command to get it. Now let's start the mother session here. So great, it started the tmux session, and you can see that because of the tmux conf that we just copied over, things like you have the active window highlighted in red and so on, with the date that is displayed here and the session name that's displayed here. So all of the configuration stuff is out of the way. Now you can go ahead and install some other dependencies, like let's install Vim now. So most systems have Vim installed by default, but in Srimux, your Vim skills will be put to the ultimate test. As someone rightly said, Vim is a programming language to edit text. So do brush up on your Vim navigation, macros, tabs, and Vim modes. The next step would be to install uh, a JDK, uh, because that will be required by Clojure and also a project management tool called Lean. So let's install the default JDK. The installation may take some time if you not installed it before, and you may be prompted to enter some configuration for regions and time zones. So once installed, OpenJDK is fine. Next will be to install the Lean package, which is like a project automation tool for Clojure projects. We need to download a batch file that is in the instructions available in linengine.org. So let's try to download that. First we would need wget to download it. Wget is already there. Great. Next is to get the Lean batch downloaded. Once we do that, yes, so the Lean is downloaded. Now we move this batch file to a place where bash looks for commands like user bin. You can say sudo move, and then we can also change mode to make the file executable. Great. Now let's install Git and Python too. Similarly, we need to make sure that Python is installed because that is needed by the Fireplace tool, which is a Vim plugin, so that it can connect properly to the server process called network REPL that I'll just start. So let's now begin with the installation of the Vim plugin, Fireplace. This is yet another plugin from Tim Pope, who has given us great plugins like Vim Pathogen. Also, I'm following the instructions from the GitHub repo, README file. So first would be to make a directory like this, and then cd into that, and then we clone the repo directly there. So it says I've already installed it, that's okay. This step basically sets up some nice help tags to get help from within Vim. So we are done with the Fireplace installation as well. Now we can start the server REPL. Let's see what files are there in the source directory. So the secrets file you see here is ignored by Git. This is so that you don't commit your secrets like passwords that you will be requiring for automation eventually. Let's create a starting secrets file from the available sample by just copying it. And now let's try to create a nrepl server. The command to do that using the lean package or automation project automation tool is simple. Just say lean repel, and you'll have to wait till you get a user prompt. The first time you run this, it will self extract a bunch of dependencies and may take a while before the prompt shows up. So you have to be patient when you do it for the first time. But here you see that the nrepl has started and it's available on this port 41415. So that's great. So you need to take a note of this port because that's what you will connect to when Fireplace will prompt you to do that. So now let's create another window for Vim to connect to this server port. So prefix C is the command to create a new window in Tmux, and our prefix key is Control A. So just say Control A C to create a new window. So when I do that, you can see that immediately there is a new window that just got created. Okay, we are already in this folder. Let's open the main namespace. You will be spending a lot of your time in this file. So the file is Srimux CLJ. This is the file. For some reason, I have not checked in a particular patch. So let me open up the utilities file. Okay. So you can get help on Fireplace commands by hitting :help from within Vim like this. You can see that the help is loaded in a horizontal split and the command to connect is :connect. Let's close this split and try the command to connect. :q actually closes the buffer. Let's connect by typing :connect. So it's asking for the port or URL. You can hit Control A1 to switch to window 1 because that's where the port was mentioned. So it's 41415. So you can say Control A2 and enter the port 41415 here. So it says the scope connection is established to home directory Srimux. This is fine. Let's turn numbering on this file. The command to set number is to set number. So notice I've taken the cursor to the start of the NS expression. That is the first character in this file, and it ends in line 5. You eval that block of S expression by hitting C followed by P followed by P as a sequence of keystrokes, that is CPP. Let's try to do that. Yeah, so it executed the S expression, and the results of this is available here, nil. Here is where the feedback of any S expression you eval will show up. So let's go to the utilities namespace and check out how a particular function like a resize is implemented. So you can see here that this is how most of the commands are implemented. You shell out to tmux command, give it a sub command. In this case, it's split window. It splits Remax's second window in a 75-25 ratio. So another feature of Fireplace is that if you need to get context help for closure commands, you can take your cursor to the function that you are interested to read up and just hit Shift K, that is capital K. So here you can quickly get a sense that what this function does. It has multiple arities. First argument is a string, and the second is a regex, and so on. So let's go back to the main namespace. The way in which you navigate tabs in Vim is through commands like 1gt, that stands for go to tab 1. So I'll say 1gt. I'm now in tab 1. Now let's execute that resize command that you just saw. So the way you would do it is you just navigate to the resize function. So it doesn't matter that resize function is falling under the demo function. All it matters is you navigate to the start of any S expression and just eval it. Since Remux 2 is the current window, hitting the CPP now from this place should execute the resize expression that we just saw, splitting the screen into two as a side effect. Let's see whether that will work. Yeah, so this seems to work. So the screen is now split into two. The cursor now is in pane 2. We can bring it back to pane 1 by Control A H, that is prefix H, so that we are back in the Vim file. Now let's try sending a command from Vim in the left pane, causing some typing of characters in the right as a side effect. Let's locate the ls-l. Now you can go to the start of the S expression, that is the bracket that just is before the TS, or if you are lazy, just hit CPP from wherever you are. Fireplace will eval the first enclosing S expression. So when you do this now, eval from this place, you can see that the TS command appended an enter to the string at the end and sent all these characters to the right pane. Of course, the shell in the right pane doesn't know the difference between this and a human typing ls minus l and hitting enter. So you can silence this green press enter message by adjusting the command height in the left pane. Let's do that. So the command to adjust the height is set command height to. Now let's try entering the or evaluating the same command. Okay, the feedback didn't come now, and the ls minus l command got executed. This is much better. So let's see the next command, the tsne. This is like ts, but it doesn't append an enter at the end. It's useful for sending special keys like enter itself. So let's go to the S expression and issue a few CPP keystrokes. You got one enter, fine. Another CPP, another CPP. So like enter, enter is a special command. The string enter is interpreted as the enter key. There are many such special keys that could be used with the tsne command. Some of them are listed here like B space, B tab, etc. So now let's try to send some more keys to the right pane. Let's locate the blah command and let's see what happens now when I hit a CPP here. So it echoed a quote blah and a quote and it returned what that echo command would return. So this is an example of sending a constant command, but you could also send a variable command. But before that, let's take a little look at how enclosing works. So let's get to the echo command. So if you hit the CPP keystrokes now, nothing will be sent to the right pane. The reason is the most enclosing S expression is not TS but format. Let's try this. So nothing happened in the right pane, but what you could see is echo secret being evaled, and this is the return value of the eval command. So nothing happened to the right pane, and to send the intended command with variables to the right pane, you would have to actually take your cursor to the TS, and from there you need to execute or hit CPP. Now the echo secret got printed in pane 2. Now let's send the control C, enter. So TS will always append an enter. So let's see what happens here. CPP, control C got entered. It worked. Now this is a very useful function, do times. It's almost like a for each. Let's see the help whether we get it. So do times is a Clojure core function. It's like a for each. The underscore is because you don't use the index in the body. So this is a demonstration of how powerful your S expression based automation could be. So you have a for loop and in that for loop you have entered enter 5 times. So it doesn't end here. So you can even have lexical variables like here. This is a very uh, convoluted example, but it demonstrates the whole power of this automation. It actually types a Python script in Vim, saves the file called delete me1.py, and executes the Python program all in just 3 keystrokes, that is CPP from this point. So when it do that, it, it worked like a charm. It was so fast that you didn't even see the Vim session that came up and down. The 500 millisecond sleep introduced was introduced because there needs to be a little pause between all these keystrokes so that they are registered in the way it was intended. So this gives you a feeling for what kind of automations are possible. So it could be stateful, it can make use of variables, it can even refactor a lot of patterns in often repeated commands with slight variations, and all of that is possible through such lexical scoping. So let's create a new session to simulate a project called Project One. So the way to do it would be to uh, invoke the function t new session and hit CPP on it. So this creates a project called Project One. Nothing will happen yet. It's just creating a session that is not visible to you. Then it sets a bunch of variables, like session name is always Srimux, the window is always 2, pane is always 2, and then you have to summon what you just created. So you created a project called Project One, you can summon it, and when you do that, you can hit CPP. So when you do that, you see that a new nested session got created and it's visible, and we can call it level 1 nesting, right? Now let's go to this command. So this next will demonstrate how to create a window inside the just summoned project. For this we need to send the meta keystroke G followed by a C. This is a meta command because the recipient process that receives this is the tmux that is nested as project 1. The result will be a new window gets added to project 1. Let's see whether that happens. Yes, a new window got added, and immediately that window also got highlighted in red, all inside the nested tmux. Now let's rename, because bash is not very good name. Let's try to get more descriptive name. So the rename command for tmux is prefix comma. So to do that, we would have to send a comma using the G command again. So when you do that, you see that tmux is prompting for us, the inner tmux is prompting for us to enter a new name. Now the way we could do it is send 4 backspaces using the do times, which is almost like a for each that we saw. So you saw that the bash had 4 characters, all 4 characters got read, and now we can actually use uh, the ts command to rename it. So now when you execute cpp here, so you saw that the new name for the window now is T1 code, right? So now let's create another project. This time we batch all the keystrokes together using do. So let's go to the project. And create a project called project. So what this does is creates a project called project 2, exactly the same pattern as project 1, same layout, but you don't do it line by line, you do it in one batch. So that's what the do command is for. Let's see whether that happens. So here is where the name of the sessions that is nested is there. So just notice that particular section. I'm evaluating CPP right now. So you saw the same layout has been created with a new project called project 2. So this is how entire layout creation can be automated and new projects can get created, if not created for the first time, with just a few keystrokes. So summon child function summons the project by name and loads it into 2.2. This can be used to switch between projects without having to leave Vim. Let's try that. Enter CPP now. So you saw that project 1 got summoned into the same workspace. So now it's project 1, it was project 2 before. And if you want to get back to project 2, you enter CPP now. Again, you have gotten back to project 2. So next, I would want to simulate a long running process and see how we could use a function that I have written in the same Srimux namespace called WTO to monitor the pane output on the right and wait till a process finishes before we execute the next command. So to do this, we need to configure prompt in a certain way that the WTO function expects. It will use this as a thing to look for to ascertain whether a process has exited or not. So when I hit CPP now, you'll see that the prompt changes on the right side. Great. So W2 also requires your pane buffer to be filled with many prompts so that there are no blanks like the one that you're seeing right now. So we do that very quickly. We go here and basically enter 65 times with just one keystroke. Great. So now we are ready to actually execute the demo of wait. So this should now wait 10 seconds before it executes ls minus l. So let's do that. Okay, so here it says that it's not able to resolve a symbol. So a quick fix for that would be to evaluate the symbol here. So again, this is a S expression, so you can do a CPP. So you see the symbol has been evaluated, and now there should be no problems in executing this. So this will now wait 10 seconds before the ls minus l gets executed. So I've entered it there, and after 10 seconds the ls minus l got executed, and that's how you can synchronize between two sets of keystrokes that depend on the output of the previous command. Okay, sometimes like in SQL statements, you would want your keystrokes to terminate with a semicolon. That's a special kind of a special case. If you want to do that, you have to escape only the last semicolon with a backslash, like you're seeing here. So now when you do a CPP, you're going to see two semicolons that is sent to the right pane, but only the last one has been escaped with a backslash. Sometimes projects like Tmux or Project 2, sorry, sometimes projects like Project 2 may attach to yet another Tmux session, example in a remote server. So to simulate a level 2 nesting, we can CPP this command. So this is level 2 nesting. Now for meta keystrokes, that is you want to send commands directly to the innermost tmux, you need to make use of the function gg. So let's try some gg commands. So now again you execute this, the innermost tmux will prompt for a rename. Again send 4 backspaces using the same technique you saw previously. It will ask you to rename, and there you could just say that I want it renamed. Now enter CPP here. I want it renamed as remote tmux. That just happened. Now any non-meta command, including Control D, can be sent through TS or TSNE, and that will be received by the bash process that runs remotely. So let's try sending a Control D. So when I hit CPP here, you should log out from the innermost bash, and that's what happened. And if you want to kill a session, you can use the tkill session command like this. So now you are killing the whole project 2 session, and you can call it multiple times as well. You can ignore this error. You can call it multiple times, and this command kill session is very useful to kill a project that just is used as a shell, kind of a shell to connect to a remote SSH server. Killing session and retapping SSH command is how you achieve reconnection. So let's CPP the go home command. Go home detaches all projects running in Paint 2.2 and gets Srimux to a ready state with 0 level nesting. That is, no projects are loaded into the 2.2 address. Any summon child will then bring the required project to level 1 nesting, like we saw in the demo. So through S expressions, you've seen that pretty much any automation can be achieved. But how about that piano? I can demo that very quickly. So you can even play the piano. I have another Srimux session connected to my other machine. So the way you run it would be to CPP something like this. I've created a function called PP that plays the piano. So that was the happy birthday uh, keyboard played through the piano, through the Java MIDI library that was used to basically play this. So, isn't this fun? I hope you got a taste of how all these tools fit together and work in concert. You really are bound only by your imagination in how far you can take this. Thanks for watching this video, guys.